There are some stories that don't need ghosts to be terrifying. Some stories prove that the real monsters walk among us, and that a night of laughter, music, and friends can end in a nightmare you'll never forget. Tonight's story isn't about something supernatural. It's about something worse. A true crime. A story of survival that will make you think twice about the people standing next to you at a party. This is the story of Rachel Meyers, an 18-year-old college freshman who went to a party and vanished without a trace. What happened to her is something her friends, her family, and everyone who hears it will never forget. The girl who escaped the apartment. I still remember the night my friend disappeared. Her name was Rachel Meyers, and she was only 18 years old, a freshman, barely into her first semester of college. Rachel was the kind of girl everyone liked. She wasn't the loudest at the party, but she wasn't shy either. She had this warm smile, long brown hair that she always wore loose, and a laugh that made you want to laugh too, even if you didn't know the joke. That's what made what happened to her so horrifying. It was a Saturday night in late September. A group of us had driven out to a party about 25 miles north of our campus at another university in the city. Rachel had gone with her friend Emma Clark, who drove. The party was huge. Loud music, people spilling into the yard, red Solo cups in everyone's hands. It was the kind of scene you see 1,000 times in college, the kind of night that usually ends with stories you'll laugh about later. But not this one. At some point in the night, Rachel split off from Emma. Emma told police later that Rachel had been playing a game of cornhole in the yard with some people she'd just met, nothing unusual. But after that, she was gone. No one saw her leave, no one noticed her walk away, and when Emma tried to call her, Rachel's phone went straight to voicemail. At first, no one panicked. Maybe she had gotten a ride home. Maybe she had gone to grab food. Maybe she was sleeping it off somewhere. But when morning came and Rachel still wasn't answering, her friends called the police. And that was the beginning of 10 of the longest, most terrifying days of my life. We put up flyers. We called hospitals. We even drove back to the city and retraced every step, asking anyone if they had seen her. Nothing. It was like she had vanished into thin air. But Rachel hadn't vanished. She was living a nightmare. What we didn't know then was that at the party, someone had slipped something into her drink. Rachel remembered fragments later, the taste of the alcohol going bitter, her head feeling fuzzy, and then a man's voice telling her to just come with us. She was led to a vehicle, pushed inside, and driven to an apartment in the city. There were 3 men, and for days they kept her there. They locked her in a small room with nothing but a bucket. They fed her almost nothing. They drugged her, injected her with substance, and when the drugs dulled her protests, they SA'd her again and again. She was 18 years old. 10 days after she vanished, a homeless man sitting near a bus stop in the city saw something that still haunts me when I think about it. He saw a girl crawling, her leg twisted unnaturally, one arm bent at an angle that made him sick to look at. Her face was bruised, her clothes torn, and she was whispering for help. It was Rachel. The story of how she got out is something that sounds like it should only happen in movies. One night, one of the men allowed her to use the bathroom instead of the filthy bucket in the room. Maybe he pitied her. Maybe he thought she was too weak to fight back. Whatever the reason, he didn't think she'd escape. Inside that bathroom, Rachel saw a window, small, cracked, and high above the toilet, but it led outside. She turned the shower on to cover the noise, climbed onto the sink, and somehow managed to squeeze her broken, battered body through that tiny window. She fell 3 stories into a hedge. The impact shattered her leg and her arm, but Rachel didn't stop. She dragged herself out of the bushes, crawled across the grass, and made it to the road. That's where the homeless man found her. Cars stopped, people screamed for someone to call 911, and for the first time in 10 days, Rachel was safe. Police swarmed the scene. Rachel, through pain and trauma, managed to tell them where she had been held. Surveillance cameras near the apartment complex showed her being led inside days earlier, and soon 3 men were arrested, charged with kidnapping, SA, and unlawful imprisonment. They were predators, monsters. And if Rachel hadn't found the strength to crawl through that window, she might never have been found at all. Rachel spent months in the hospital. Her body healed, but her spirit was scarred. She never went to another party again. She carried a gun wherever she legally could. When she finally returned to campus, almost 2 years later, she was different, quieter, always watching over her shoulder. But she was alive, and somehow she graduated. She became a nurse. She chose to spend her life helping people, even after humanity had shown her its darkest side. It's been years since it happened, but whenever someone asks me why I don't go to big parties anymore, I think of Rachel, of how easily a night of fun can turn into a nightmare, of how evil hides in plain sight, and of the image burned into my mind, my friend crawling broken and bruised toward a bus stop, fighting for her life, because that's what true horror looks like. Rachel's story is one of survival. Against all odds, she fought her way out of hell and crawled back into the light. But it's also a reminder that danger can hide in the most ordinary places: a crowded party, a friendly smile, a drink left unattended. Rachel's life was forever changed that night, and although her body healed, the scars remain. When you go out at night, stay alert. Stay with people you trust. Because the truth is, you never really know what someone is capable of. And sometimes, the scariest stories aren't told around campfires. They're written in real life, in the shadows we walk through every day.